Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I was trying to figure out the damage cap of all of Rackam's skills for a new video I was going to make, and I came across something curious. His aerial barrage skill has the same damage cap of his bullseye blast. It's the same animation in essence, just in the air. And normally that's not very useful because the attack scaling is super low, in that you need to have a ton of attack to get to the damage cap in the aerial. So you usually don't see the max damage cap for aerial attacks, but since I wanted to test out the damage cap, decided to build super heavily into just improving the attack of my Rackam, and this might be a new functioning build for Rackam if you want to play him in this specific way. So let's get right into it. The main difference between this build and other Rackam builds is you're going super heavy into attack scaling, damage scaling, so you can max the damage cap of his aerial charge attack. This plays functionally different than any other Rackam gameplay you're going to see. We're just jumping, using our aerial barrage, jumping, using our aerial barrage. I call this build the aerial shotgun build. Now, I will say this build does lean in somewhat meme territory, and you're not going to efficiently be able to use this type of skill set in some quests and against some bosses, but it's another tool I think Rackam now can use that can really create some distinction, some difference making when you are building Rackam. So this is definitely something I came up with, and I think it might actually see some play in the late game, so let's get into it. Now keep in mind, I don't have max skills, max weapons. I've been trying to play with my brothers and they're a little bit slower than me, so I wanted to wait for them. I realize now that that might not be too smart, since it's much better to have full endgame to kind of show you the DPS, so I'll be farming for endgame probably after this. But I did want to showcase it now just so that people can start having an idea of this new strategy to Rackam. The aerial attack scaling is so much more rigorous than any of Rackam's other skills that you really have to over-invest in attack to hit that damage cap. Once you add damage cap sigils on top, it becomes a real fight that might require you to run super heavy investment attack sigils. Something very unique to this build as well is the inclusion of less is more. Because our whole build is built on using our aerial attack, which isn't a skill, we can actually get away with not running any skills and really taking advantage of this less is more sigil. Instead of running the awakening sigil, anything like that, you're just running full damage, no skills, and just full ooga bunga melee DPS. Now I will admit this is somewhat of a meme build, and I'm sure not how the developers designed for Rackam to be played. So I'm sorry in advance if Rackam becomes a melee no skill DPS meme, but it's just a different way of playing Rackam, a new skill set, a new playstyle that can output lots of fantastic damage. Now I thought this was really only going to be a time attack type build, which just gets you high numbers there, but I spent a lot of yesterday playing it into rank missions. There are definitely some missions you can't really play this in, particularly missions where single target DPS isn't particularly key, and also missions where there's a lot of different ground animations, air animations, just things to dodge that you are kind of stuck in a small freeze while you're using your charge attack. So those missions can be pretty problematic. The better you are at playing and the more that you practice this, it's really just a melee champion essence. So if you are good at that, if you're good at time dodges, you definitely can be fine just playing this in a high variety of quests. This isn't going to be a full encompassing video of this whole build. I don't have the sigils to really give you an endgame version of this build, but I wanted to get it out there, show people that it exists, and kind of guide people some of the early testing I've done to showcase where some of the pitfalls may lie, some of the advantages to this strategy. So let's take a look at some of my example sigils that we have here. So in this example build, I'm actually only running 2 damage cap sigils. You can see I'm still using that beginner weapon. I don't really have the ascension leveled up. I don't have the Tiamat weapons, so I actually can't get my damage high enough to use more sigils. So it just kind of showcases the potential of this build where full endgame Rackams will be able to run all 4 damage cap sigils and really get even more damage than what I'm showcasing here. So I'm really excited to try it out myself, but also see what other endgame Rackams can do with something like this. Something very core here is I'm running less is more. So less is more is something that massively increases your attack if you don't run skills. You don't need skills with this build. You're just using your jump and your charge attack button. That's all you're doing. So you don't really need skills here. So it really gives you a huge attack boost. So that is something that we actually have a use for the Legends More Sigil with a build like this. And it's really cool to see. I think very end game Rackams will be able to run skills out on top, just some support skill or maybe collateral damage or some huge attack boost. But for right now, I'm running it without any skills. I know that will change with time. And then on top of that, we're just running a ton of attack damage sigils with utility as a secondary. So stamina, life on the line, I'm using just for the testing. I wouldn't run that in actual gameplay. Same thing as things like Berserker and stuff like that. Only really in testing, wouldn't really use it in gameplay. But critical hit rate, stamina, tyranny, concentrated fire, even crabby resonance was working with me. So just anything I had used to effectively increase my attack damage. As I get better sigils, I'm not running supplemental damage currently. I'm not running war elemental currently. So I know that the potential of this build could just go to the moon. So I'm really excited to see what people can do with this. But this is just like my beginner's level. Something really cool is you don't need Awakening Sigil because it doesn't help you at all. It's not increasing your bullseye blast. You don't really use it. It's not increasing your basic autos. You use it, but it's not core. You're just trying to increase your aerial barrage skill here. So now, even though this is a high DPS Rackam build, there are definitely a couple of pitfalls I've seen while testing it. You can subvert a little bit, but I want to mention if you want to try it out for yourself. First of all, you have no skills, right? Like that is a negative. You can definitely build where you have some skills, but if you're going to use less is more, you want to take advantage of the buffs, run a lower amount of skills. So that is definitely something that sucks. I'm definitely removing the core essence of playing this game, using your skills, that thing. And also, the game plan is melee, right? Rackam is a ranged character. By using a build like this, you've turned him into a melee character that wants to get close and then use their aerial attack on him. So you've subverted the expectations of this character. You've turned into a melee, one of those melee bros. I played Rackam because he's ranged. And look at me developing a melee type playstyle for this guy. What am I doing? Because we are not running any skills, we really don't charge our Skybound art burst that quickly. So usually I'm the first to have 100 charged. Now I'm by far the last. I think if you're really going to play this seriously, you want to have uplink or some way of increasing your Skybound art charge speed just so that you can keep up with some of the other companions. So that's something that you're going to really have to adjust if you do play this. Pretty much you have to relearn this character to play him this way. A lot of the intricacies or tactics you may have learned, you kind of throw out the window, become a melee guy, have to start learning some of the melee dodge patterns, since normally I never get hit by a dragon tail swipe. Now I have to learn when it's happening, when to dodge it. It's definitely a learning experience if you're used to just playing lots of range like I am. So that's something to keep in mind. Overall, that's the gist of this build. I wanted to get it out quickly just so that it can be in the public eye. People can start thinking about developing it, trying to optimize it. But I wanted to showcase, here's a new build for Rackam. Its playstyle is degenerate, but hey, it's another tool in the loadout toolbox for Rackam that I think is just cool to have. There's going to be some quests. I believe that this is going to be by far the best way of playing Rackam for that mission. So hope you guys enjoy something like this. I'll try to get endgame sigils and try to build an official or make an official video guide for this, but hope you like it. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your day.